Hey, listeners, I have recently released my YouTube channel called The Light. They are short inspirational videos to get you moving towards a greater you and a better life. New episodes come out every Monday and Friday, but only on YouTube. You can go to the show notes to click a link to get yourself directly to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you so much and enjoy. Warning, the following podcast may contain graphic content, language that some may find offensive. Listening discretion is advised.
Boom.
Hey, everybody, it's Tommy Canelli, and welcome back to Before the Lights podcast, the show that tells you how they made their mark. Today, he's a writer, actor, a Honduran-American comedian. He was the host of Comedy Central's show, The Mind of Mencia. He has appeared on The Shield, Moesha, and in movies such as Out of Time and The Heartbreak Kid. He was also named the International Comedy Grand Champion. Please welcome to the show, Carlos Mencia. Carlos, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, brother. I can't wait to talk, bro.
Let's kick off here. Born in San Pedro Sula, but what was it like being one of 18 children?
Normal. I mean, I literally wish that, there was some big grand story on how things came to be with me. But, in this respect, it was just, normal. I mean, everybody had a lot of kids when I was growing up.
Okay.
And I was born in 1967, but I was born in a third world country, which I believe at one point, if maybe not even today, is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And so, it was almost like turning the clock back. It's one of those jokes, comedians, they don't do them anymore, really. But what kind of they do? You'll hear jokes like that maybe in the Bay Area in San Francisco, something like, I went to Oklahoma, and when they landed, they said, turn your clocks back to 1945. That kind of a joke. But it really applied in Honduras. Living in Honduras when I was a kid was literally like living here in the maybe early 1900s, late 1800s. You had a lot of kids, knowing some of them wouldn't make it. You lived in a place where if you ended up at a hospital and you didn't have money, they wouldn't treat you. All of the things from back in the day. And so all that stuff was normal for me. It was normal to have a lot of brothers and sisters. It was normal. I think what was abnormal, no, it wasn't even that abnormal. So my birth parents have all these kids. My uncle and aunt, one of them is sterile. And one of the reasons that I love them so much, they raised me as their own kid, but they never went to the doctor to find out who it is that is infertile, because they never wanted to be able to blame the other person for not having kids. And that is who raised me, which, when I got older, I was like, have you guys ever heard of doctors? Like, they have in vitro, they have stuff, man. They literally have stuff. But I just respected that's what they did. And so I grew up in a lot that had two houses. In the front house, me and my mom and dad, who were my uncle and aunt, lived. And my mom and dad and all my brothers and sisters lived in the back house. So, and there was never a hidden thing. They never, it was never, this is your mom, this is not your mom. It's like, they're both my moms, they're both my dads. Those are all my brothers and sisters. And that was normal.
You end up coming to the U.S., raised Catholic in East L.A. What was some of the difficulties of being raised in East Los Angeles?
You know what's funny? Human beings have this innate ability to say that things happen for a reason. I don't believe that things necessarily happen for a reason as much as our resilience allows us to gain from that. It's kind of like you ask a coach, do you learn more from winning 10 games in a row, or do you learn more from the one loss? And they'll say, well, we learn more from the one loss and then winning the 10 games. I think it's the same thing with human beings. We kind of look at life in that respect. And, for me, again, it was normal. I think where it where I believe that I kind of got slapped in the face with the reality of it is I was filming an episode of Nightline. And first of all, I just like it was, I mean, it is what it is. I pointed up to some window and I go, there's a guy that lives right there. Yeah. He sexually abused all the kids in where we grew up. And the producer was like, wait, what are you saying? And I said, yeah, he has sexually abused all of us, other kids. Like, and then they were blown away by it because I just brought it up like it wasn't a traumatic experience. And, you know, things like that for me never blew me away. But so they were a little weirded about that. But then I said, that's not the scary thing. I said, the scary thing is when we used to play, there was a watch out. Like somebody was always looking. And whenever a car drove in to where we lived slowly, we all ran because a slow car literally means drive-by.
Drive-by.
And so, yeah. So we would hide. And they're looking at me like, what? And I said, yeah. I remember one time I was standing right here and they shot over here and the bullets hit over here. And we went over, and because it's the projects and, you know, that's not somebody's house, the bullets weren't there, but the bullet holes were there. So I go, oh, look, there's the bullet holes right here. And I think that in the middle of me kind of going like, it was somewhat celebratory. Like, look, they did drive-bys when I was a kid. And here it is. Like in the middle of that, I was like, what the fuck kind of childhood did I have? How am I okay with this?
Right.
And, but you know what? You grow up the way you grow up. You know, what it did was it gave me an unbelievable amount of fodder. It also created something that I didn't realize it was going to create, which is the bedrock of a really great comedian. Because I believe that there are many types of comedians, but when it comes to talking about quote unquote edgy stuff, I think the best comedians are those that actually have the ability to go into their past and make fun of or create a funny moment about how bad our life was, about how crazy our life was. And I think that it gave me the ability to go up on stage and talk about things that a lot of other comics probably would shy away from.
When did you start writing material and starting to get into comedy? Was it before you started studying electrical engineering, or was it during that same time period?
It was right after. And, you know, I wish I knew about comedy, because not knowing about comedy really, really bit me in the ass. And so what happened was I have always had, look at it as an algorithm, right? My brain functions in a very, very specific way. And it always, even as a kid, my mom saw that. But my mom also understood that it is not appropriate to say certain things. And so my mom would always say to me, when she saw that look on my face, not right here, not right now, not right now, you know, whenever those moments were, because she saw that there was something inside of me that wanted to. And I go back to, I remember there was a guy who got shot in our neighborhood, and he was a bad guy. He'd beaten up pretty much everybody in our neighborhood. He had stabbed a couple of people and killed a couple of people in our neighborhood. Bad guy. I remember we were in church, and they bring the casket to the front. And I remember his mother drapes herself over the coffin, weeping. Why? And I was about to look at my mom and say something, and she just smacks me in the back of the head and goes, not right here, not right now. But the minute we stepped outside of church, even my mom was like, what were you going to say? And I was going to say to you, Mom, that how could she be shocked that her kid is in this trouble when literally about 8% of the people in this church are probably suspects in his killing because of who he is. Like, how do you not know if you're the mom What do you mean why? You know why. And that form of thinking was always in my head, right? It's still in my head. It's still part of my being. It still incorporates itself into everything that I write. And so I'm just, I didn't know what comedy was. I had no idea what comedy was. We lived in the projects where we had no cable. Therefore, I had no access to stand up. And I was going to school full time and studying. I mean, and working full time. I have time. So what happened was, so when Fox became a network, they created a talk show. And they had a lot of comedians on. And I remember I would go to work and I would say, did you guys see this guy named so-and-so last night? No. Oh my God. Let me tell you what he was talking about. It was so funny. And everybody at work was like, and then they would pick my brain and I would say things and they would laugh. And there was this one guy named Joe. Joe was the epitome of the guy that has been somewhere forever. He's the guy that when the young guy comes in and makes more boxes than everybody else, he's like, slow down there, kid.
Right.
There's gonna be boxes for the rest of our lives. That guy that tells everybody to chill. And he came up to me and he was a miserable guy. And he went, you're funny. You should do stand up. And then he walked away and I had no idea what he was saying. And then my girlfriend bought us tickets to the Improv and I want to go see. And I remember, Paula Poundstone and Rick Dukeman. And I remember the Improv in Los Angeles on Melrose. It's the room is separated by a hallway and it was like a movie. And there's, the round lights looking down. And I remember I stopped right under a light as we're all leaving. And my girlfriend walks out. And I remember looking back on the stage going, I could do that. I could do that because especially this guy named Rick Dukeman, he did a bit about waiting in line for an old lady who was taking her time. And then, the joke, oh, and she doesn't have an ID. Oh, and she's going to pay with a check. Oh, and she has coupons, and he got angrier and angrier and angrier. And at that moment, I discovered the place where my mother can't tell me it's not the right place and it's not the right time. The problem with it is that's when I started getting into comedy. And I remember listening to some comedians, a few of them, by the way, who said, oh, when I first started doing comedy, my entire act was some great comedian that they loved. A lot of it is Richard Pryor, especially African-American comedians. They, like so many of them will say, oh man, Richard Pryor. Man, when I first started doing stand-up, I was Richard Pryor. I did Richard Pryor. And so I was like, oh, okay. So we learned from our predecessors. Here's the problem for me. It became a problem because it wasn't that big, giant persona. And I didn't know any comedians. I luckily or unluckily, depending on how you see the story, I got accepted to be a regular at the Comedy Store. I was really young. I wasn't even of age. I was underage. I was like 19 or 20. And I started working there, doing stand-up there. So what did I do? As I was a door guy during at night. So I would see all these comedians doing their material and they became my Richard Pryor.
Gotcha.
So instead of me doing Richard Pryor stuff and everybody going Richard Pryor, I'm emulating guys that I'm seeing, guys that you might not even know, Rick Reedstein, Steve Greenlee, Charles Cozart, Paul Mooney. And so, people at first, it wasn't a problem because I was very amateur, but then Mitzi paid me some attention, gave me some spots, and I got funny before I became creative. And so it became a problem That's where the entire, Carlos Mencia is a joke thief came from, because it was the beginning of my career and I was just doing what a lot of comics do. I just didn't know. I didn't know that that's not the way it normally goes, that it's
Right.
normally this big guy. It's not normally some guy that gets off stage and goes, "Hey bro, what the fuck?" And you're like, no, I'm not, like, so I immediately, when that came about, started realizing, oh shit, I can't do that. And then it just became a thing because I was a comedian that Mitzi liked, and therefore other comics hated that because it was like, oh, that's Mitzi's boy. She's going to take care of him. Then when Mitzi told me that I needed to change my name, because my birth name is Ned Arnell Mencia. That's my birth name.
Right.
My father's name is Holness, but that was never my last name. I mean, it's my heritage, but it's not my last name. And so, I remember getting off stage March 8th of 1988. And Mitzi goes, "You can't be an angry Mexican named Ned." And I said, "Well, Mitzi, I'm actually from Honduras." And she goes, "Yeah. Well, you can't be an angry Mexican named Ned." And that was a big moment where I realized it doesn't matter if I go up on stage and say, my name is, Carlos, and I'm from blah, blah, blah. I still get asked to this day when some people ask me, "Where were we born?" Honduras. I still get this at least once or twice a week. What part of Mexico is that? So even today, it still occurs. But all that stuff, I was really young and I had no idea what was happening around me. I had no idea that I was an enemy just because she liked me, and that created like he's teacher's favorite pet, so we can't tell him shit and we can't talk to her about it. So nobody let me know that they had issues until, well, cut to later, and I guess we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But the one thing, Carlos, is here's my take on the name change. When I heard all this and I do research on my guest, my brain immediately goes somewhere else. Carlos Mencia, a.k.a. Ned, is not the first person ever to change their name in celebrities and in history. The list is so long. Elton John, Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga did not receive the same attention for changing their name that Ned did to Carlos Mencia. I mean, come on, are we serious that we're going to attack you over changing your name?
Yes. Well, if you look at, this is what I tell intelligent people that are actually not trying to get me or corner me some way, which whatever. You can see that the internet tried to get me in every way possible. It wasn't just, he's Honduran, he's culturally appropriating, his name is Carlos, he steals jokes. And so it became like, what can we do to bring this guy down, so to speak? I just didn't understand that at the time. I didn't see it. And here's the thing about my name change. I used to watch a show called Ripley's Believe It or Not with Jack Palance. And every once in a while they would say, this actor's name is really this. This actor's name is really this. But here's the thing about my change. I'm a mathematician. I had the perfect white Anglo-Saxon name, Ned. All right. Now, if I had changed my name to Ned Smith, I could understand people getting mad at me because I'm going from what was at the time about 12 to 13% of the population to what is about 75% of the population. But no, I went backwards. I had the perfect white name. I'm Ned Flanders. I'm fucking Ned. And I went backwards on that shit. I literally went, you know what? I get it, because I understood where I came from. I understood how I sounded. I understood how ethnic I was. I understood that if we were doing this exact interview way back then, I would have been talking more like this, because I was from there. That's where I was. That's how I grew up. It wouldn't be as crazy as this, but it would definitely be a different intonation, and you would feel it and you would hear it. I actually went the opposite route and said, you know what? I'm just going to accept that this is what people are going to see of me and lean into it, so to speak. And so the name change was because I understood that she was right in the respect that, you know, even to this day, I'm telling you, if I went up on stage and somebody was like, Ned, there would be people going, what the fuck, Ned? How'd that happen? Wait a minute, what? Your mom did what and why? And yeah, it would have been funny for a second. But I think that, you know, the change was appropriate in the sense that it was a big part of who I was from the outside perspective. And it still is for some people. And I kind of, you know, I still lean into it, but I find it interesting that people want to spin it as Carlos Mencia is taking advantage. I'm like, shit, I already had the white name. I already had 75% of the population. Listen, if I'm doing shows in Oklahoma City and Ned Holness is on, I would venture to say that a couple more people would want to come see me perform than Carlos Mencia. I'm just fucking saying. And, you know, Tulsa, Oklahoma, though I love it and I go again, I literally stopped going there because of some racist shit that happened back in the day. It was, you know, so it's taken me a long time to be able to see all of this it's taken me a decade and, you know, therapy and looking back and figuring it out and what part is my fault. You know, when all this stuff went down, I didn't want to be that human being that just puffs his chest and says, hey, this is the way it is. I get it. You know, there were habits that I had as a human being that I needed to get rid of, because what helped me as a young human being in East LA to overcome and to not get into fights was I had this look of, you know what? I don't think we want to fuck with that guy. Now, because of it, I really never got into fights. But I remember one time I told this guy, bro, if we're going to fight, you better kill me. Because if you don't, I'm going to kill you. Because this is just how it is, bro.
Right.
I'm not going to walk around waiting for you to get revenge, you to tell your friends, you to do all this stuff. So if you want to do that right now, let's do it right now. And it was always like, hey, calm down, bro. Shit, I just want to know where you're from. Like, you know, but in comedy, that's not in this business, it's not good. You know, like I tell young comics who kind of had my similar attitude growing up, I tell them, listen, man, if NBC tells you to go in there and they're thinking of producing a show and giving you 13 episodes, they're committing somewhere between 10 and $20 million so that you could put on a show. Yeah, you should be fucking grateful. And not just grateful, show gratefulness. Go in there. Don't be humble. Show humility. Show that. I didn't understand any of that stuff when I was young. I just understood, look, I'm a talent. I'm a product. You know what it is. Let's do something together. It wasn't that I wasn't humble or appreciative. I always was, but I just didn't go in there with that attitude. You know, my attitude was, I'm good. I'm funny. I deserve this. And you're amazing. And let's work together. And I'm grateful. So grateful. And yet, hey, man, there's a reason I'm here. It's not because I suck. This is a wrong attitude to have.
Right. And I'm going to get more into that in a minute. There's a couple things I want to get to before then. Did you take the stage in Acapulco and perform in Spanish?
Yes.
You did.
So what happened was they did a jazz festival in Acapulco, and the artists wouldn't perform. The musical artists wouldn't perform. So we went up on stage, and, you know, I can play some instruments. A couple of other comedians can play some instruments. And so Martin Lawrence can play some, you know, so we just started playing some stuff. And, you know, the audience was pissed because a lot of them were Latinos from there. You know, what they thought, this was supposed to be a bunch of people that love jazz going to Acapulco and enjoying a festival. Well, you know, it wasn't that. It was a bunch of people from Mexico enjoying. And so I started doing stand up in Spanish, and it was funny up until, everybody else kind of couldn't do it in Spanish. And then they got mad, and then they started getting mad at us because they're like, hey, where the fuck is Sheila E? She's supposed to be performing here. You don't look like Sheila E. And so we're just like, I don't know. And then I got pissed because they started heckling me. And I was like, wait a minute. See, this is the thing. This is what I was talking about earlier. Today, I would say something like, hey guys, listen to me. I am not in control. I am just a performer. If you want to get mad and have this show end, we'll end it right now. It's your show. But if you guys want us to try to entertain you, we will. But I don't want to piss you off if you're pissed at them, because this has nothing to do with me. The fact that those guys aren't here, I am here. So it's up to you guys. Back then, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You're mad at me? I'm trying to do this shit in Spanish for you. Like, this isn't even supposed to be in Spanish. And so I guess I offended the wife of the police commissioner. And so did Martin Lawrence. And so I get off stage and a cop goes, do you know where Martin Lawrence and Carlos Mencia are? I think they're in the back. And I ran and told them, hey, bro, we need to get the fuck out of here right now. And so I literally threw my bags out the window of the hotel in the middle of the night, went to another airport so that they wouldn't find out where we were to get out. And Martin Lawrence got in a taxi cab, and they drove him from Acapulco to the capital, Distrito Federal, so that he could get out. We both had to sneak out just to get out of Mexico. And what was my fucking big crime? I did stand up in Spanish. That was funny, by the way. It wasn't like I was bombing. They loved it. They just got pissed. And then I was the ire of it. And so, yeah, but that's a real moment. And, they tried to make a movie out of that for a while, kind of an escape from Mexico type of thing. It never came to fruition, but yeah, that was a real story, man.
Wow.
The Mexican police were going to arrest us. Yeah.
I said in the intro that you've done some acting. You've also been on In Living Color. Do you enjoy acting, or is it just something that adds to your resume?
Listen, if it wasn't for, no, I enjoy it. Okay. I enjoy it because it allows me. Now, it's taken me a long time as an entertainer to overcome it, because so if you think about Robin Williams, right? Robin was first an actor. He was always dabbling into that, and then he took that into stand-up. So he already enjoyed being a different character. It took me a long time to get funny, create this Carlos Mencia performer, and then distinguish between that guy and some character that I'm playing in a movie. So it took me a long time to get good at acting, just because it was so difficult for me to become a comedian in the first place, that then going, wait, I don't want to do that. And they're like, what do you mean? It's not you, dickhead. It's a character. It's like, yeah, but I'm the one doing it. It took me a long time to kind of realize, oh, I don't have to play people that I like. I don't have to, it's not me. It's not, the better I do it, the better. So for me, it took me a while, but once I did, it's thoroughly enjoying. It's enjoying to do so.
Listeners, go to the show notes. I'm going to put a link to the 2007 Super Bowl commercial that Carlos did for Bud Light, where he's teaching immigrants on how to ask for the beer. It looks like it had to be fun in filming that.
That was so much fun. And at the time, it was the most watched and recorded commercial, because everybody was waiting for it to see how edgy it was, I guess. So that was amazing. But that wasn't the best part of that story. The best part of that story is that year for my birthday, my dad had planned a barbecue, and then he runs into my room and he wakes me up and he goes, there's a truck outside. And I go, what? There's a truck. So I go outside, and the Budweiser truck backs up into our driveway, opens up, they open up all the sides, right? I don't know if you know how those trucks are. So they open the sides, and then they go, Budweiser found out that you're having a birthday party and they sent us here and you can take whatever you want. And I look back at my dad and he's teary-eyed. And I go, are you okay, Dad? And my dad like, you made it, mijo, you made it. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? I got a TV show. I'm selling out. I've done arenas and this. I even won, Spanish, whatever. I mean, I've done so many accomplishments, and this is it. And he was like, now I know. Now I know. And I was like, wow, I made my father proud because they gave us free beer. I was like, holy shit. But it was beautiful because, I got my parents, they don't infringe on my success, so to speak. They never leaned into it. They let me be, I was an athlete. They really didn't come to see me. My parents were like, if you play, then play for yourself. Don't play for us. And if we can make it, we will. If we can't, we can't. But, are you doing it for me? No, then do your thing. So, it was, that was a great moment, man. It was a great moment because, that was I can die now moment. Like literally, really. I mean, we have them, that was a moment where I was like, you know what, as far as my dad is concerned, I can die. We're good. I made him proud. He did something for me. He brought me to this country. He put responsibility on me and told me to be whatever, but to be great, to be amazing at it, whatever it was. And, that was the moment where he acknowledged you did it. You did what you're supposed to do. I brought you here. I did what I'm supposed to do as a father, and as a son, you did what you needed to do. And a couple of weeks later, I bought him a house, and that was it's one of the great moments in my life.
Did you guys empty that truck of all the beer?
You know what? Ironically, not a big drinker. Well, didn't drink at all at the time. I didn't drink. So no, we didn't really, they actually left extra because they were like, oh, come on. But, I didn't need it. And I didn't need a bunch of Budweiser stuff lying around that nobody's going to drink, So, no, I didn't empty it. Even today, I don't think I would. I'd take what I needed. I'm not that kind of person. I never have been. For me, life is more about giving than it is about taking. I'm very uncomfortable receiving. I always have been. I'm good for taking care of my friends. I'm good at, paying for dinners. I'm not good at, all right, you can do that for me, or you can take care of that for me. It's just, I feel like life has blessed me, with a lot of caveats, but it's blessed me. And, I want to share that with those that I care about. And so, if I'm hanging out with my friends who make, $50,000, $80,000 a year, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, and I make that in a week, I'm not going to let them pay for my stuff. It's just not, unless it's a pride thing. And then I let it but that's a macho pride Latino thing sometimes. But outside of that, I want to take care of those that I love because I have extra. So, and I tell them, look, when you have extra, hook me up. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is. So one of my buddies, he works for Nikon, so he hooked me up with a camera. So they do stuff like that, but stuff that doesn't hurt when they give it to me. And that's pretty cool.
According to a recent CBS News poll, 54% of American families are affected by cancer. My story will touch you on how I survived colon and liver cancer. Now, I'm living a healthy lifestyle. I will inspire you to inspire others. Allow me to not only entertain, but leave you energized and driven to change your life and bring your organization working closer together. So open those minds and let me provide the tools to gain your greatest level of personal enrichment. For more information, go to TommyCanale.com. That's TommyCanale.com. ALE.com. And remember, you're one day away from changing your life. Click the link in the show notes. We had talked earlier where you were accused of joke stealing, and you stopped doing the jokes that people have brought to your attention. And there's been, and listeners, if you want to get into it, go to the internet. You can dive in for hours on all this. But my question to you, Carlos, is simply this, because I haven't found this. Has anyone asked you, has any comedian stolen Carlos's jokes?
No, but you know what's funny? I see my influence on a lot of comedians as far as the way they deliver, the way they move, the way they, act. Yeah, I see that, but, the difficult part of all that was, see, I'm a numbers guy. And one of the things that really hit me hard was, and it wasn't that long ago, during COVID, somebody came to see me perform, and they looked at me very somberly and said, listen, I come to this club at least 50 times a year. And I've been doing so for, like a decade. So I remember thinking at the time, like, there's something really fucking wrong with you if you seriously did that. But I didn't say anything. But then he shook my hand and he said, that is the greatest show and performance of a live stand-up I've ever seen in my life. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're the first. And so I said, so I'm the first person to make you laugh that hard? Oh, he said, I'm sorry, I didn't finish. I'm sorry that you're the first person that the internet ever tried to cancel. He's like, I literally went online to see the internet as a whole. And if you check the algorithms of when that started, you're legitimately the first person that the internet came together and said, don't see that guy. We don't want to see that guy. And it's part of the internet is still going there. And that really hit me hard. That like really blew me back because I couldn't believe that that's how big it was. That's how engulfing it was. I never tried to minimize it, but I just, I'm a numbers guy. And so, for me, it's like, somebody said to me the other day, why don't you just apologize? And I'm like, to who? I don't get it. See, nobody accused me of stealing those jokes, right? That's not the narrative. The narrative isn't Carlos did a special and he took his jokes. The narrative is Carlos steals jokes. He sits in the back of clubs. He takes your shit. It's so much more than just he stole a joke. It's continuous. And so, it's been difficult to deal with that from a lot of perspectives. And yet, as I told you earlier, I didn't need it, but I changed. I wanted to change, and this was a catalyst to that change. But it's hard. Look, I have recorded every single one of my performances, pretty much, with very rare exception, since 1994. And what I tell people is, hey, listen, if you have a joke that you think I did, tell me what joke it is. I can literally go into my archives. Everything's digitized and find out what joke it is. And anytime I say that, I get whatever, dude, you know what you did. And because it's about feelings now. At this point, people feel that I'm a certain type of person. Part of it is because I'm so aggressive when I perform that, people don't see the other side of who I am because that's not a big side of my performance. And with regards to stealing from me, so I have a really good friend. His name is Juan Villarreal. He's a comedian. I saw him perform and I really wanted him on the show I had at the time called Loco Slam, which was kind of a Def Jam for Latinos. And so I brought him to the attention of the producers. They saw him and he performed. Well, about 3 months after the show airs, he calls me up and he says, hey, Carlos, are you going to be performing in Corpus Christi anytime soon? I said, I don't know. Why? Listen, I got paid $3,000 to headline. I can't turn down $3,000, bro. I need that shit. But I only have 15 minutes. He goes, yeah. So I did your act, bro. That's all I could do. I mean, I know you so well. I did your shit. And then he was like, I think I even did it better than you. I was like, and then we laughed. And I looked at him and I, I said to him, yeah, don't worry, man. It is what it is. Just, don't make it a habit, but this is material I need to move on from anyway. Don't really care. So after that, he got picked up to do a tour for the USO. So he gradually was trying to write his own stuff as he was doing my stuff and go away. But then people would come up to him and go, yo, Carlos is doing your shit. and he was too young. He was too young. So what did he say? That motherfucker, are you serious? And listen, we joke about it now. It is, and I hold him in no way, shape, or form responsible for any of the stuff. But he did that. And here's like there are moments in my life, right? One of the moments was I remember I went to go pee. He was opening for me. And I went to go pee and I come back out and it's kind of like there's a wall and they're talking on the other side of the wall and I'm about to turn the corner and I hear my name. So I stop. And this guy says to Juan, why would you open for this piece of shit? He actually steals your fucking jokes, bro. That's bullshit. And so he, at this point, is way past it. He's doing well for himself. He's not that same young comedian. So he tells the guy, what are you talking about? I stole from him. He let me steal from him. I didn't have enough material. I needed the money and I did all of his shit. He's actually nice enough to never call me a joke thief because he's a friend and he loves me. And the guy paused for a second and he goes, yeah, fuck him. I don't like him anyway. And I'm like, God damn it, man. Seriously? This is the bullshit I'm talking about. And so, moments like that were very difficult for me to kind of comprehend and put into a place where my mind can make sense of it.
Yeah.
The racist overtones of this are they're difficult to pass. I mean, look, I don't say this to put others down. I really don't. I say this, and it's like a catch-22, right? But there have been more than a handful of white comedians that have been accused of joke theft, but the internet doesn't turn on them the way it turns on me, and our industry didn't turn on them the way it turned on me. They're still doing specials. They still have TV shows. There are people that were, accused of sexual assault. Those people are still doing well. And the internet is, but they're still there. I have slowly, been suffering to this day. You caught me at an interesting time. I just got out of very, very serious depression. Didn't last very long. Doesn't with me very often. But all the stuff that happened and how it went down and, performing as much as I perform and hearing the things that I hear. And I was saddened by the fact that I was told by a producer that in 2019, he wanted me on a TV show. And that the producers of the TV show said, we don't want to work with Carlos, with all the shit that he did. And it really, really hit me hard that I've always known that this is the case, but I now know that's the case, that this has cost me money. I've also, heard people say, well, it's different and whatever, all of that stuff. It sometimes the weight of it is unbearable. My big problem is I overcome shit really easily. And that bothers me. That bothers me because sometimes I wish that I could go into a depressive state, cancel my dates, and then have people go, oh shit, this is really fucking with him. So they understand. But what happened recently was my nephew had a third strike when Mind of Mencia started. So he ended up going to jail for 25 to life when Mind of Mencia first started, when all this first started. The day that my friend told me that the producer didn't want to work with me, he got out of jail. And I posted something on my social media, and, you know, some people, you know, were, whose jokes did he tell and all this shit. And I'm going, man, you know, at this point, my nephew got out of fucking prison before the internet is still fucking trying to not even, God damn, what the fuck do I need to do? Like, who did I fuck? Whose mouth did I shit on? Like, what was it? And then I started watching this TV show on Netflix called El Rey, which is about Vicente Fernandez and his life and career. And in watching it, he had so many fucking haters. Now, I don't know how many of the stories are real or how embellished it is or what, but the dude had a fuckload of haters. And that shit just made me feel even shittier because it was like, oh my God, is that what it is? Am I just like, I haven't done a movie in 10 years. I haven't had a special in 10 years. I don't go to comedy clubs other than the ones I perform in. I have stayed away from this industry so that they could leave me the fuck alone. And yet they're still up my ass. And I'm going, what is it? And I don't want to be Carlos Mencia from back in the day that says it's because I'm fucking funny and they just don't know. You know, I don't want to go there, even if that's the case. It serves no purpose, because the one thing I pride myself on is what you didn't find on the internet and will never find on the internet is me speaking ill of those who have perpetrated this onto me. And by the way, recently, I don't want to mention names, but recently I got phone calls from a lot of major publications that wanted me to shit on specific individuals who were in trouble at the time, being called racist and all this kind of stuff. I didn't bite. I didn't go there. I don't want to be responsible for doing to someone else what was done to me. I can't live with that. That's something that I cannot do.
I tip my cap for you for saying that exact thing and saying I'm going to be a bigger man than that. What I don't understand is this. There are people, high names, big celebrity names, that have committed attempted murder, have been in sexual assault, have been charged with battery, and have not nowhere near dealt with the backlash that you're dealing with for joke stealing.
Right. Here's what happened. What happened for me was a couple of things. Number one is nobody understood the internet. So, you know, when all this stuff started, I hired a crisis manager. And my response was, guys, let me defend myself. Let me go out there and say the words. I literally have archived all the stuff. So I literally have a leg to stand on when it comes to this stuff. Nope, it's going to go away. Don't worry about it. That's how these news cycles work. They'll go away. They come and go. They come and go. They didn't understand that the internet is different. It stays there forever. Somebody listening to this right now who has no idea, if they don't actually look at the date of those videos, they might think it happened, 3 days ago, 10 days ago, 20 days ago, a year ago, whatever it is. You know what? It's not for me to say why all this stuff went down. What I do know is that right now, at this very moment, my performances have never been better. And a big part of it is because I can say to people now, hey, this is how you should behave when people fuck with you on the internet. Don't fight back. Be better. Stop putting other people down just because you want to. Stop saying this sucks or that sucks. Stop comparing experiences. Why do you have to rate everything? You went and you saw a movie and you enjoyed it. You fucking enjoyed it. Why are you going to diminish that enjoyment by now saying, well, I only enjoyed, 78% of it. Yeah, the rest is like, you had a good time. Just move on. And so I use this now as a way to communicate with people and talk to them. I have no idea why all the stuff is. I think there's a lot of factors that come together, right? One of them is, the attacks were basically what the internet believes is I cheated my way into my success. That's what the true narrative is. He doesn't deserve it because his name is not Ned. He's not Mexican. He's German. He steals jokes. Everything to push on that narrative. And it stuck. And part of the reason why it stuck was because I didn't fight, because I didn't say this is bullshit. All right, I challenge you, all that kind of stuff. Everybody around me was so afraid. I wasn't, but I listened because, when you pay somebody $50,000 to tell you what to do, you fucking do it. Mm-hmm. Or you shouldn't have paid them the $50,000 in the first place. And, at the time I was trying to change. I was trying to become the anti, because me personally, I wanted to get a phone and go, fuck that, bring it. Especially when the person accusing me of it never accused me of stealing his jokes. It was always, he steals people's jokes, not he steals my jokes. But the irony of so many ironic moments of this, but last year or earlier this year, not sure, some Asian comedian was performing in Austin, Texas, and he brought up another comedian, and the other white comedian went up and used some racial slurs and blah, blah, blah. The Asian comedian posted it, and that guy got in trouble. The irony for me of that moment is some of the people that were literally sitting down in podcasts berating me and telling everybody not to go see me perform, what came out of their mouth was, oh, that's bullshit, man. That's not the way you do it. You don't fucking put it on the internet. You talk to somebody face to face. You don't fucking do that. That's dirty. And I'm literally sitting there going, thank God I am not in the city that you're in, because right now I want to fucking get a gun and go kill everybody there. Like, there's just these visceral moments that happen like that. But at the end of the day, like I said, we're resilient, and some of us more than others. And I think that I have used this to actually make a better change for myself, and I really like who I am now. And it's not been, thank God there are other sides to these stories, right? Like I was watching the George Carlin documentary, and I'm feeling shitty. And then he says, yeah, it took me about a decade to figure things out and change from this to that. And then I went, oh shit, me too. All right, fuck. I thought I was taking too goddamn long, but no. I'm good. So like, there are also those moments, I think that what's hard for me right now is this. Carlos Mencia has 3 lives, very specific. My personal life, which is me, just my personal life, me, my loved ones, people that I care about, very small circle of friends. And there's Carlos Mencia, the entertainer, who just is always ready to perform, right? He's always that guy. And then there's another part of me that realizes that I kind of have to show people today, especially with all the sadness and all the depression and all the anxiety, that you can survive it and you can come out the other end of it and you're going to be okay. And as hard as it is, you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But I have this other life as well, where I am the funniest person that a lot of people have ever seen, especially in the past decade, where you have to come and see me perform live. But that doesn't jive with the internet. That is such it's a big problem, right? That those two worlds see me differently. So if you interview people that come to see me perform, and I've had people pretty frequently recently, actually, apologize to me, coming up to me, like apologizing, and is like, look, man, I came, I'm going to be honest with you, Carlos, because my girlfriend loves you. That's why I came. And I was ready to listen to your bullshit and to go online and to tell everybody. And I was like, so what are you trying to say to me? It's like, I'm sorry, man. I believed it. I'm sorry. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen. You were up on stage for 2.5 hours. I heard nothing that I've ever heard before. Jesus Christ, bro. You're amazing. I'm so sorry. And then they go online and they post that, and then they get shit for it, and then they delete the post. And I'm just like, I had a soldier there for a second. Fuck! Ah! But I'm able to get past it now.
Yep.
I don't understand where it is or where it comes from. I know that there are little pieces here and there. I imagine that to some people, how I do what I do is intimidating. I would imagine that to some people, the fact that I make people laugh at shit that they don't think is funny and shouldn't be talked about. The fact that my self-confidence is taken for arrogance, as opposed to, look, I don't apologize for the comedian that I've been. Did I rub people the wrong way when I was a young comedian? Yeah, sure I did. But I just wanted to be funny. I never put anybody else down. I never berated them or their accomplishments. So, was I cocky? Yeah. But when you first started anything, you're cocky. That's all you have. When you haven't accomplished anything, all you have is the belief that you can. But that belief has to be real. Mm-hmm. You have to believe that you're going to win. Even today, I guarantee you that Tom Brady believes that he's going to win the next game. He believes that it's not his fault. And I know that because I've been watching a couple of games where he goes and he sits down and he tells everybody, hey, stop fucking doing this or keep doing that because you guys are fucking up here. He still believes. Now, I don't know if his capabilities have diminished or his wife wanting to leave him or whatever is a factor in it. But I do know that in order to be your best, you have to believe in yourself. You can't go up on stage like, hey, man, I'm okay. Like, what do you think about this? And think about, you can't. You just got to do what you do with the fervor that you do it and bring it. And I mean, like in Vegas, who does that better than anybody else? Lounge acts that sing. How they can do what they fucking do is unbelievable. How they can sing what they sing and deal with the people and the losers and the winners and the whole thing. And yet, if there was no audience there, their performances would be immaculate. And I fancy myself as one of those people, every show may be my last show.
Let me go here. CarlosMencia.com. Check on the tour, Laughing and Living, November 18th through the 20th. Coming to Sin City, Las Vegas at South Point Casino. 3 nights. Listeners, you just heard Carlos talk about it. Now I'm going to challenge you. If you're in Vegas, California, Utah, Arizona, or you're going to be in Las Vegas November 18th, 19th, and 20th, please do yourself a good favor and go see this man because he's absolutely hysterical. But talk about this new tour.
It's the best I've ever had because, I found myself again. I was a young, cocky, brash kid who didn't see the forest for the trees, who wanted to be the best that he possibly could. And I didn't see the feelings. I'm not big on feelings. I'm big on math. I didn't see the feelings of the people around me, especially those comedians. And there were other things, that I ignored, whatever. But now I'm just so in tune with who I am and what I do and how I do it that, there are nights where I tell people literally before I get on stage, if you're easily offended and you have not the ability to not be offended, please go get your money back right now before anything starts, because I don't want your money. I don't want to. And then there are times where I feel like, hey, if you're easily offended, please just hang out long enough to see what I do, to see that it's not that I'm picking on any one group of people, but at the end of the night, you'll see how comedy is uniting and it brings people together. And, today what I get is, I did a show 2 nights ago, and this guy from New York, this Jewish guy from New York, was not mad, but he was a little perturbed. And I was like, "What's bothering you?" And he said, "You make jokes about everybody else." What the fuck, bro? You got no Jew jokes? You got no Jew jokes? And, it was such a beautiful moment because I stopped and I looked at the audience and I said, there you go, people. This is what comedy does at its best. It unifies us so much. It unifies us to the point where somebody that did not get quote unquote picked on, because that's what you're seeing, but that's not what they saw. What they saw is, oh, so you don't know me well enough to talk about me? I'm not important enough for you to talk about me. I'm not relevant enough for you to talk about me when I'm invisible. And so I see that side now, and it has opened up the doorway for me to be a comedian that I was never able to be before. I talk about, I talk about an incident where Ron Jeremy, porn star, introduced me to a transgender who used to be a man and didn't tell me, and she was hot. And there's a great story to be told. But, it's taken me a long time to be able to talk about this, and be okay with whatever you think or feel, or, you might think I'm gay. You might think whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I now am in a place where things like that are open game. And so it's fun, man. It's fun. I get it. I do this now. It's funny. When all of this cancel culture came around, especially with comedians, I welcomed it. I welcomed it because I think we got lazy. I think that I have been to comedy clubs many times where a comedian's talking to the audience and the wrong person opens their mouth and their immediate reaction is, I wasn't talking to you, shut the fuck up. And I thought, that's kind of lazy. You first started talking to the audience, making it seem like you guys had something going. And now you want to pretend that you're not talking to them. And when they feel like it's a conversation, you're getting mad at them. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Or if you say, if my kid turns out to be gay, I'll cut his throat. Look, I don't care about the seriousness people that take of it. For me, it's a lazy joke. It's just a lazy joke. You can be more creative with your, I don't want my son to be gay joke, whatever that is. And so, you know what? This scrutiny that we're getting, I welcome it. But I've been doing this type of humor a really long time. So for me, it's secondhand. It's easy because I already know people are going to get offended, or some people are. So I cut them off at the pass and say this and say that. And, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to be funny. So I'll just, so you understand. I do a joke about police officers, and I have a lot of them in my family, and I raise a lot of money for them. And I do a joke where I say, I don't like cops that complain about their jobs and, try to make us feel guilty about the job that they do, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot that goes to it. But at the end of all of that, I tell them, I want you to know that above all, in this joke, I'm serious. I do not like whiny cops. Whiny cops are afraid of their job, and they're the same people that wait 45 minutes to go into a classroom when our kids are getting shot because they're afraid to do their goddamn job because it's too dangerous. And, that's one of the first times that I've ever not obeyed my own rule of, if it's not funny, don't say it. But now if I'm funny for 2 hours or an hour and a half, or, an hour, and I only get paid to do 45 minutes and I gave you an extra 15, yeah, you could deal with me giving you a fucking extra sentence. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I could never do before. And now it's just that, you know, I mean, standing ovations every show. It's amazing what I'm doing right now. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it on a way that I didn't love before because I found myself. It's almost like Ned started doing stand-up, then Carlos took over doing stand-up, and then Ned and Carlos had a fight. And now Ned and Carlos do stand-up. They both get up on the stage now. I'm able to do that. I couldn't do that before. So
I love it.
It's fun times, man. It's fun. It's great times. Incisive, not afraid, creative. I'm loving it.
I wish you nothing but keep on, and keep on, my man, and just keep pushing forward, and much success to you. Thank you so much for taking time and talking openly with me on my show. I really appreciate it.
And I want you to know that the first time I really ever did a show in Vegas was at the Old Sands. That's the first time. It was after my first HBO special. I think it was like 1,000 seats. And at the time it was like the most amazing thing. It was before they teared it down to build it back up. Yeah. Mid 90s, 95, 94. Yeah. First time I ever did it, man. It was amazing. And then I ended up at the Riviera with Steve Sharippa, who loved me. And I loved him. It was amazing.
Listeners, what I would like you to do, this is a perfect time. This is November, Native American Heritage Month. I want you to go to the links and click on the docuseries that I did with filmmaker Antonino D'Ambrosio. We did a podcast docuseries in support of Native American rights of the harsh and unfair treatment of the indigenous community. It's entitled A Heartbeat and a Guitar, Johnny Cash, and the Making of Bitter Tears. Thank you for listening to Before the Lights. I'm Tommy Canale. And until next time, everybody, I salute a chin chin.